In J.R.R. Tolkien's epic world of Middle-earth, there are few moments more powerful than the confrontation between Gandalf the White and the Witch King of Angmar. As a Maya spirit, Gandalf stands among the mightiest beings in existence, yet even he was taken aback by the power and malevolence of the Witch King. This encounter not only showcases the Witch King's terrifying strength, but also sheds light on the greater struggle between good and evil in The Lord of the Rings. In this video, we'll delve deep into why Gandalf was so shocked by the Witch King and how this scene highlights the escalating darkness threatening Middle-earth. The Witch King of Angmar was not always the formidable and terrifying force that he became. To understand why he grew into such a fearsome opponent, we need to go back to his origins. Originally a mortal king, the Witch King was one of the 9 men who were given rings of power by Sauron. These rings promised great power, wealth, and influence, but ultimately they served as a means for Sauron to control their bearers. Gradually, these men became corrupted, losing their will, freedom, and eventually their mortality, transforming into the Nazgul, the Ring Wraiths. As the mightiest of these wraiths, the Witch King became Sauron's most trusted servant, earning the title of Lord of the Nazgul. His strength grew over centuries, especially during the time he established himself as the ruler of Angmar in the far north. There he waged a relentless war against the kingdoms of Arnor, the northern realm of the Dunedain. The Witch King's campaign was brutal and devastating, leading to the destruction of the kingdoms of Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rhudaur, and effectively wiping out the last remnants of the once great northern kingdom. Throughout this campaign, he demonstrated not only his martial prowess and command over dark sorcery, but also his cunning and patience, biding his time until he could strike decisively. This period allowed him to hone his skills, increase his mastery over dark magic, and spread fear and despair across the land. His power was not just in his sword or his ability to lead armies. It was in the very aura of dread that surrounded him. The Witch King's presence could induce overwhelming terror in those who encountered him. This ability was so potent that it could paralyze even the bravest warriors, making them unable to lift their weapons or even flee. He had become more than just a warrior. He was an embodiment of terror itself, a living shadow of despair that could bend the will of others to his command. This was a power that extended beyond physical strength and was rooted in the spiritual and psychological, making him an adversary unlike any other. By the time of the War of the Ring, the Witch King had only grown stronger. His connection with Sauron, who had also regained much of his power, amplified his strength even further. This link between master and servant meant that the Witch King could draw upon the might of the Dark Lord himself, making him even more dangerous. He was not just a servant of darkness, he was an extension of Sauron's will, a vessel through which Sauron's malevolence could flow unimpeded. As the Witch King prepared to lead the assault on Gondor, he was at the height of his power, more deadly and terrifying than ever before. What made him truly dangerous, however, was his ability to defy expectations. He was not bound by the limitations of mortal men or even ordinary magic. As a wraith, he existed on a plane between the living and the dead, which gave him access to powers that few could comprehend, let alone counter. His mastery of sorcery allowed him to perform feats that seemed impossible, shattering weapons, breaking defenses, and summoning darkness. This combination of martial prowess, sorcery, and sheer psychological terror made him one of the most formidable beings in Middle-earth. By the time Gandalf encountered him, the Witch King had become a force of nature, embodying the very essence of fear and death. It was this culmination of power, both physical and metaphysical, that made him a truly unparalleled foe, and one that even Gandalf could not dismiss lightly. Gandalf's transformation from the grey to the white was one of the most significant moments in The Lord of the Rings, representing a rebirth and elevation in his status as a wizard and a servant of the Valar. Originally as Gandalf the Grey, He was already one of the most powerful beings in Middle-earth, possessing great wisdom, strength, and knowledge of both combat and the arcane. However, his powers were tempered by a sense of humility and restraint, and he operated more as a guide and mentor than a warrior. His death in the battle against the Balrog in the depths of Moria marked a turning point. When he returned as Gandalf the White, he had been sent back with a clearer purpose and far greater authority. This transformation meant that he was now the leader of the Istari, having surpassed Saruman, who had fallen into corruption. As Gandalf the White, his powers were greatly enhanced, and he was no longer bound by the same limitations that held him as Gandalf the Grey. This elevation was more than just a change in title. It was a complete reforging of his spirit, mind, and body. Gandalf's magic became more potent. His ability to wield the flame of Anor, light and fire, grew stronger, and he now possessed a greater understanding of the forces at play in Middle-earth. As Gandalf the White, he carried Narya, one of the 3 elven rings, which enhanced his ability to inspire and lead others, as well as protect against despair. This power made him a beacon of hope in the darkest moments, capable of rallying armies and instilling courage even when all seemed lost. His authority extended beyond the physical realm, allowing him to challenge dark powers directly and resist their influence more effectively than ever before. His confrontation with Saruman at Isengard showed the full extent of his newfound power. He effortlessly broke Saruman's staff, a clear indication that he had surpassed his former superior in strength and authority. In this act, Gandalf demonstrated that he was now a force to be reckoned with, capable of taking on the darkest powers in Middle-earth without hesitation. It was not merely his magic that had grown stronger, but his very presence. He now exuded an aura of authority and strength that made him the most powerful of the Istari. Gandalf entered the conflict against Sauron with the expectation that, as Gandalf the White, he would be able to counter any threat the Dark Lord could muster. He had faced and defeated the ancient and immensely powerful Balrog, and he believed that he had reached a level of power that would allow him to stand against the greatest servants of evil without fear. He had seen through the deceptions of Saruman, resisted the temptations of power, and proven himself as one of the greatest defenders of Middle-earth. In many ways, Gandalf embodied the hope and resilience of the free peoples, a light that could not be extinguished. However, the Witch King was unlike any enemy Gandalf had faced before. The sheer malevolence and power that radiated from the Witch King, combined with his mastery of dark sorcery and command over the forces of Mordor, was something that even Gandalf had not fully anticipated. This confrontation would challenge everything Gandalf thought he understood about power, strength, and the limits of his own abilities. It was in this clash that Gandalf would come to realize that the Witch King was not just another opponent, but an embodiment of the darkness that threatened to engulf all of Middle-earth, one that even Gandalf, in all his power, could not easily overcome. The city of Minas Tirith stood as the last great bastion of hope for the free peoples of Middle-earth, a symbol of resilience against the encroaching darkness of Mordor. As Sauron's forces prepared to lay siege to the White City, the sense of dread grew palpable. Gandalf, as one of the city's chief defenders, had taken on the role of a commander, rallying men, directing defenses, and striving to inspire hope in the face of overwhelming odds. But even with all his power and wisdom, Gandalf knew that a dark storm was brewing, one that could not be easily withstood. The Witch King of Angmar led Sauron's forces to the gates of Minas Tirith, bringing with him an army of orcs, trolls, and other foul creatures. As the battle raged on, it became evident that the defenses of the city were beginning to falter under the relentless assault. However, it wasn't until the Witch King himself approached the gates that the true might of the enemy became apparent. With a dreadful cry that echoed across the battlefield, the Witch King summoned all his dark power to break the mighty gates of Minas Tirith. This act was not merely a show of physical strength, it was an overwhelming manifestation of dark sorcery and malevolent will. one that shattered the very heart of the city's defenses. Gandalf, waiting on the other side of the gate, was prepared to confront whatever stepped through. He had faced many formidable foes in his long life, from ancient Balrogs to dark sorcerers, and believed he was ready to face the Witch King. As the shattered remains of the gate fell, revealing the towering, malevolent figure of the Witch King astride his fell beast, Gandalf felt the full force of the Ringwraith's power. The air itself seemed to grow colder, heavy with an unnatural dread that seeped into the bones of every living being within the city. Even the bravest of warriors felt their courage wane, and for a moment it seemed as if all hope was lost. What was truly unsettling for Gandalf was not just the physical might of the Witch King, but the aura of pure malice and terror that accompanied him. This was more than the mere presence of a powerful enemy. It was an overwhelming darkness that threatened to smother all light. The Witch King's voice, cold and cruel, cut through the air as he mocked Gandalf, declaring that no living man could hinder him. It was in this moment that Gandalf realized that he was facing an evil that transcended the physical world, an ancient and malevolent force that had grown far more powerful than he had anticipated. Despite his power as Gandalf the White, he found himself momentarily shaken, unable to fully comprehend the extent of the Witch King's strength. It was as if the Witch King was drawing upon a reservoir of darkness that even Gandalf could not fathom. The intensity of the confrontation was unlike anything Gandalf had experienced before, and for a brief moment, he felt the very real possibility of defeat. This realization, this moment of vulnerability, was what made the encounter so shocking for Gandalf. He had always been a beacon of hope and light, but here, in the shadow of the Witch King, he found himself confronted by a darkness that even he struggled to withstand. This moment of confrontation served as a pivotal turning point in the battle, as it showed that even the mightiest of the free peoples could be challenged by the darkness threatening to consume Middle-earth. The Witch King's power was a reminder that Sauron's influence had grown far beyond what anyone had imagined, and that the forces of light would need to summon every ounce of strength, courage, and resilience to overcome this ultimate foe. Long before the War of the Ring, there existed a prophecy that foretold the fate of the Witch King. It was uttered by Glorfindel, an elven lord of great wisdom and power, during a time when the Witch King had been driven back after his conquest of the northern kingdom of Arna. As the Witch King fled from the forces of the Free Peoples, Glorfindel declared that, "Not by the hand of man shall he fall." This prophecy, spoken by one of the most respected and ancient beings in Middle-earth, became a point of both fear and mystery, shrouding the Witch King in an aura of invincibility. This prophecy was known to Gandalf as it was to many other scholars and leaders throughout Middle-earth, but it was not entirely clear what it meant. Was it a literal statement, meaning that no man could kill him? Or was there some deeper, more symbolic meaning to Glorfindel's words? Regardless, this prophecy became a defining aspect of the Witch King's identity, one that only served to amplify the sense of dread and power that surrounded him. To many, the idea that he could not be slain by any man made him seem invincible, a spectre of death that could never be overcome. Gandalf, despite his vast knowledge and understanding, was not immune to the weight of this prophecy. As a being who had walked the lands of Middle-earth for centuries, he knew well the power of such words and the ways in which they could shape the fates of those they spoke about. The Witch King's belief in his own invulnerability gave him an unshakable confidence, a fearlessness that only made him more dangerous. Gandalf understood that the Witch King was not merely a servant of Sauron. He was a force of terror, one who had been granted a sense of destiny that set him apart from the other Nazgul. The prophecy also highlighted a crucial difference between the Witch King and other beings of darkness. While many of Sauron's servants operated under the shadow of fear and doubt, the Witch King acted with a sense of purpose and certainty. He believed himself to be beyond death, beyond defeat, and that belief gave him a power that was difficult to match. It was not just his mastery of dark sorcery or his prowess in battle that made him formidable. It was the sense that he was fulfilling an inevitable destiny, one that no man could thwart. For Gandalf, this realization was troubling. He had faced many foes who were strong, cunning, or powerful, but few who carried with them such a weight of destiny and invulnerability. This made the Witch King's power feel all the more real, all the more insurmountable. Gandalf understood that defeating the Witch King would require something more than mere strength or magic. It would require a breaking of the very fabric of destiny itself. This prophecy's fulfillment would come in an unexpected manner, as it would ultimately be Éowyn, a shield maiden of Rohan, and Merry, a hobbit, who would confront the Witch King and bring about his downfall. Neither of them fit the description of man as understood by the prophecy, thus allowing them to bypass the seeming invulnerability that had surrounded him for so long. This revelation, when it finally unfolded on the battlefield, was a testament to the unpredictable nature of destiny and the ways in which hope could emerge from the most unexpected places. For Gandalf, the knowledge of this prophecy served as both a warning and a reminder that even the greatest powers in Middle-earth were subject to forces beyond their control. It demonstrated that while the Witch King might seem invincible, his fate, like that of all beings, was ultimately shaped by forces greater than himself. It was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there remained a glimmer of hope, one that could shine through even the deepest shadow. The confrontation between Gandalf and the Witch King is not just a clash of two powerful beings. It serves as a profound exploration of the true nature of power in Middle-earth. Throughout The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien weaves a complex tapestry that questions what it means to be powerful and how different forms of power manifest in the world. The encounter at the gates of Minas Tirith is a microcosm of this struggle, showing that power in Middle-earth is not merely a matter of strength or might, but something far more intricate, multifaceted, and often elusive. Gandalf represents a form of power that is rooted in wisdom, guidance, and the light of hope. As a Maya, he is one of the most ancient and powerful beings in Middle-earth, yet his role is not to dominate or command through sheer force. Instead, he seeks to inspire, guide, and uplift others, encouraging them to find the strength within themselves to face the challenges before them. This approach is evident throughout his journey, as he acts more as a catalyst for others' growth and courage than as a warrior who seeks to solve every problem with his own abilities. Gandalf's power lies in his ability to bring light to dark places, to kindle hope even in moments of despair, and to lead others toward their own potential. The Witch King, on the other hand, embodies a very different kind of power. He is the epitome of fear, despair, and domination. His strength is derived from his ability to instill terror, to break the will of those who stand before him, and to enforce his master's malevolent will upon the world. As the chief of the Nazgul, he carries with him an aura of death and hopelessness, an oppressive force that seeks to snuff out any spark of resistance or courage. His power is one of subjugation, rooted in darkness and sustained by the fear he spreads. This makes him a direct antithesis to Gandalf, whose power is rooted in nurturing hope and light. The meeting between Gandalf and the Witch King at Minas Tirith brings these two opposing forces into stark contrast. When Gandalf stands before the broken gates, he represents the last line of defense against the darkness threatening to engulf the city. Yet, as he faces the Witch King, he realizes that this enemy is not simply another foe to be defeated with spells or force. The Witch King's power is more than just the strength of his weapon or the magic he wields. It is the embodiment of Sauron's growing influence, a manifestation of the despair that threatens to overwhelm the hearts of men. This is why the confrontation is so shocking for Gandalf, because he is not just facing a formidable opponent. He is facing the reality of how far Sauron's darkness has spread, how deeply it has rooted itself in the fabric of Middle-earth. What makes this encounter even more significant is that it exposes the limitations of power in its various forms. Gandalf, despite his immense strength and wisdom, finds himself momentarily shaken by the Witch King's presence. He realizes that even his power, vast as it is, cannot simply extinguish the darkness that the Witch King represents. It is a moment of vulnerability, a reminder that even the greatest forces of good are not invincible, and that power, no matter how great, has its boundaries. This revelation serves to underscore one of the central themes of Tolkien's work, that true power is not about invincibility or the ability to conquer all challenges, but rather about the endurance to face overwhelming odds, even when the outcome is uncertain. This confrontation also serves as a reminder that power in Middle-earth often operates on levels that go beyond the physical or the magical. The Witch King's power is rooted in his ability to spread fear, to make his enemies believe that they cannot win. This psychological warfare is just as effective, if not more so, than any sword or spell. It's the kind of power that feeds on doubt and despair, growing stronger the more it is allowed to take root. This is why the Witch King's presence is so unsettling, because he doesn't just attack his enemies physically. He attacks their very spirit, seeking to break their will and force them into submission. In contrast, Gandalf's power is one that seeks to inspire and uplift. Even when faced with overwhelming darkness, he strives to instill courage in others, to remind them that there is always hope, even in the face of despair. This form of power is less tangible, less immediately apparent, but it is no less potent. It is the power that allows ordinary people to perform extraordinary acts, to stand against impossible odds, and to believe that they can make a difference. This is why Gandalf, despite his fear and uncertainty, refuses to back down in the face of the Witch King. He understands that his role is not to win every battle single-handedly, but to be a beacon of hope for others, a light in the darkness that refuses to be extinguished. The encounter between Gandalf and the Witch King also highlights the importance of destiny and prophecy in Tolkien's world. The Witch King operates under the belief that he is invincible, that no man can defeat him, as foretold by the prophecy of Glorfindel. This sense of inevitability gives him a certain arrogance, a belief that his power is absolute. However, this arrogance blinds him to the fact that power can take many forms and that it often emerges from the most unexpected places. Gandalf, with all his wisdom, understands this truth, which is why he never underestimates the potential of others, even when they seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, it is not Gandalf who defeats the Witch King, but Éowyn and Merry, two seemingly ordinary individuals who, in their moment of courage and defiance, shatter the illusion of the Witch King's invincibility. This moment serves as the ultimate revelation of the true nature of power in Middle-earth. It is not always the strongest, the wisest, or the most obvious who prevail, but those who refuse to give in to despair, who find the strength to stand up and fight, even when all hope seems lost. The fact that it is a woman and a hobbit, both of whom were often overlooked by others, who strike the final blow against the Witch King, is a testament to the idea that power can be found in even the smallest and most unassuming of places. In the end, the confrontation between Gandalf and the Witch King serves as a powerful reminder that power, in its truest form, is not about domination or control. It is about the ability to endure, to inspire, and to bring light into even the darkest of places. It is about the strength to face fear, to challenge despair, and to believe that, no matter how great the darkness, there is always a glimmer of hope. This is the lesson that Gandalf embodies, and the one that the Witch King, in his arrogance, ultimately fails to understand. This clash is not just a battle between two mighty beings, it is a reflection of the larger struggle that defines the Lord of the Rings. It is a struggle between light and darkness, hope and despair, courage and fear. And in this struggle, power is not measured by the strength of one's arm or the might of one's magic, but by the willingness to stand firm, to resist, and to keep fighting, even when the odds seem insurmountable. It is this kind of power that ultimately triumphs, and it is this kind of power that defines the true heroes of Middle-earth.